Hello everyone. I, Anshu Mehra, SAS Woman of Merit, welcome you all to another interesting and interactive session of Muskaan, an initiative of Prabha Khaitan Foundation, presented by Shri Cement Limited in association with Humane Foundation. Prabha Khaitan Foundation is an organization based in Kolkata, founded by late Dr. Prabha Khaitan. The foundation is dedicated to promote performing arts, culture, education, literature, gender equality, and women's empowerment. It collaborates with caregivers, committed individuals, and like minded institutions to implement cultural, educational, literary, and social welfare projects in India. Muskaan aims to popularize heritage literature and culture nationwide among children and young adults by weaving it into formal and informal education through student activity. Some of the ways devised to do this are cultural programs, storytelling sessions, theater, dance, music, art, which are organized via collaborations with our national and international associations and institutions, both pan India and overseas network of schools, educational and art institutions. The guest for today's interactive session is Ms. Jyotsna Mohan. Ms. Jyotsna Mohan is the author of the best-selling book Stoned, Shamed, Depressed, an investigation into the lives of India's urban teens. She is a columnist for Gulf News and hosts a show, Table Talk with Joe, on Instagram. She has been senior anchor and senior editor at NDTV. In conversation with her is Ms. Shweta Aggarwal, founder of Books and Beyond and Humane Foundation, psychologist and counselor, and SAS Woman of Faridabad. Now, I would request the audience to sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. Shweta, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for such lovely intro and kind words. So, good evening once again to everybody, and a warm welcome to Jyotsna.
Thank you so much, Shweta.
So, first of all, I would like to congratulate you, Jyotsna, for this such a wonderful book. It's such beautifully written. I mean, and I feel it's a must read for every parent and every teenager.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope they do actually, because my intent has been to write it to keep everybody one step ahead of what the challenges are.
Yes, I feel most of the challenges and most of the questions are going to be answered if you read the book.
I think so too. So I really do hope that people get off their mental, the fact that we don't like uncomfortable things. So I hope that they realize that sometimes times are changing. It's better to be, it's better to have the knowledge than to be caught unawares.
Yes, and regret later.
Yes.
So, Jyotsna, your book is not on parenting, it's not a parent's guide. But still, the book carries a very strong and profound message for every parent. So, what has been the reaction of parents and teachers of teens on the book?
I'll take the teachers first. The teachers have been so glad that I've taken this book out because they see this happening around them in school. They see the fact that they are trying to bring out these issues, and yet nobody takes it very, very seriously. And so they've said to me, the amount of teachers that I've spoken with and I continue to speak with have said that that they're glad that someone's written about this finally, because it's been very, very challenging for them in the last few years, and I think it's going to be even more challenging once school starts in very different aspects. But as far as parents are concerned, it's a mixed bag. I know a friend who was telling me that the other day she was telling someone to read the book, and the person said, "No, choro, why should I learn about these things?" And so I'm not surprised, and I was expecting this. The publisher, the editor, and myself, we were expecting that there will be a lot of denial. And so it's like I said, it's a mixed bag. Those who are smart enough have gone ahead, read the book, understood what they need to handle, how they need to handle it. The ones who are, like I said, we're a society that doesn't like very many uncomfortable things. So, if you don't want to accept that things are happening around you, you'll say, let's just, live in our little ivory tower. And so, to these people, I would suggest that give the book a shot, because your children are struggling more than you realize. And the amount of children who've written into me once the book was released anonymously, my friends' children who've called me anonymously to say that we are so glad that someone has said this, for the simple reason we don't know how to bring up these issues with our parents, because every time we bring out these issues with our parents, because it didn't happen in their times, they don't understand it's happening in ours. And we've stopped having conversations at home. So my request to anybody is just read this book with an open mind. Maybe it's not your child, but just that little percentage, if it is your child, it will help you have a better relationship with your child, because children are at an age where they experiment, and they're experimenting a little bit more than they were in our times, or we were in our times, because simply because the times have changed. Their exposure is so different than our times. So you've got to give them the benefit of the doubt as well. Not everything is right, but again, not everything is wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And your book is the voice of teens. It gives them an opportunity to speak. So, what made you think of writing such a book with a different perspective?
So, I wasn't keen to write a parenting book, firstly, because let's be honest, parents don't want advice. None of us want advice, and it's fair enough. We all want to bring up our children the way we want to bring up our children. There's no right or wrong in it, each to their own. And I totally understand this. But my attempt, for the simple reason, was that I was seeing so many issues around children. And I was realizing that we're not giving it the kind of attention. To me, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm shocked that it wasn't written earlier, that someone didn't pick this up and talk about these issues before I did, because it's been happening, and a lot of these children are tormented, and they don't know what to do about it, but we haven't accepted it. And things happen, issues come up. We're talking about some suicide that happens after school, results come out, and then you forget about it. Or some issues like this, social media, a boy who's called his teacher, called up his teacher and said, I would rape you. And then we talk about it for 2 days and then we've left it. So my intent has been that, for the simple reason, I've seen an increasing amount of stuff happening around our children, and yet I've not seen adequate attention being given to it. So the attempt has been to bring out these issues in the open, so that, all the stakeholders going forward can deal with it the right way now. Now, look at where we are in the pandemic. Every single expert. So, I do a show on every Wednesday. It's called Hope Floats, and it deals with mental health, or stories of strength, stories of loss, stories of grief. And when I'm talking mental health, it deals with adults, it deals with children. And I get counselors, I get experts, I get people from all around, and all the experts that I've spoken with in the last few weeks have told me that after the pandemic, the other big epidemic is going to be mental health of our children. And yet we don't give attention. We never gave attention to this. So mental health is something I have brought out in my book as well. And I've, dedicated enough space to it, for the simple reason that I think we can't just say that these things don't happen to our children. A lot of stuff is going on with our children. And I would just suggest read it, because it's unfair to say कि बच्चा छोटा है तो उनको क्या प्रॉब्लम होगी. That their challenges are different. Like I said, their exposure is different. So the way they deal with it, if they don't have someone who are hand holding them, they may get lost. And a lot of them are getting lost, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. There has to be a handhold. So today the audience is mostly teens that we have today. So keeping their perspective in mind, I would like to ask you how children should deal with issues of peer pressure. At times, children realize that this is wrong, but they can't take a stand for themselves. So how should they deal with it?
So, when I was writing the book and I spoke with so many children, and I asked them, I said, there was a question in the book that says, what is your relationship with your phone? And most of them said that it's complicated, for the simple reason that, sometimes we're fed up with it, sometimes we don't want our phone, but it's a peer pressure. It's the kind of pressure that we want to keep it away. And then every time we turn around and we see, we may miss something, that FOMO, the fear of missing out, is so intense in these children that they said we can't. It's like an addiction. We don't want to be addicted. And yet, we feel like we're getting addicted to the phone because we don't want to lose out on anything that's going on. So the kind of pressure on our children today is enormous. I mean, we had pressure as well, but I think the kind of pressure they're dealing with today is not a patch on what we were dealing with. And a lot of experts who've written for my book have said that, it's actually that they have respect for these children for the simple reason the way they multitask. And then the pressure that comes to them, they have to make a choice. Should they go with what the parents are telling them? Should they give in to the pressure of their friends? And at a lot of points, at a lot of stages, they say, "Chalo, parents ko to hum baad mein deal kar lenge." We can't not be with the children. But to these children, I would like to tell you that you're getting sucked into a place which is uncomfortable, which is not what many of you may even want to be. But if you think you're the only one left out, be confident in yourself. And for that, I tell your families, I tell your parents that, build a strong base so that your child doesn't go out there and feels he's just ostracized, because ostracism is not fair on any child. And yet the kind of pressure they have, they feel like if they don't give in, they're going to be ostracized. And I see this very often with my child. She's 12, but she's not on any social media. And she's like, and she's not happy about it. But I get pressured and I don't allow her. And she's 12 and a half, actually. She's almost 13. And I have pushed it every year, even though all her friends have been on Instagram and TikTok since they were 10, 11. And she's like, but and she's like, I'm going to grow up and tell everybody, don't listen to your parents, and you must all be on social media. And but I know she's reacting because, when she sees sense as well, she's like, oh, okay, I saw this, you're right. And so, but my point is that at least I have an open conversation at home. I have a system where there's a two-way conversation where she's going to get upset. Teens get upset. We understand. I mean, as a teenager, I had issues. I mean, I was always rebelling against my parents. And it's the same with, I mean, it's the way, it's the law of the land, right? Children will always, in your teenage years, you're experimenting, you're adventurous. But to the parents, I say, be stable for your children. Don't just turn around and say, nahi, 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 nahi hota, because then they will not come back to you. I read this wonderful writing of a podcast with this life coach, or family life coach, was talking about the fact that, when your child comes to you, don't go to your child always and sit and say, "Kya koi problem hai? Kya hua aaj? Kya hua?" And don't keep cajoling them and keep looking for an answer, because they are never going to tell you. And I realized I was doing the same. How was your day? What did you do? Okay, it's fine. Nothing, no answer. You don't get any concrete answers, right, Shweta? And then that woman said that what you do is you go sit with your child. If they have an issue, they will tell you. It may take you a few hours, it may take them the whole day, but they will tell you. So I've realized that I don't go and sit with them and say, I hang around in the same space. In the evenings, if they're watching TV or if they're reading, I'm also sitting and I'm reading. And then suddenly they'll remember something and they'll say, Mama, this is what happened. I don't have to push them. I'm there for them. So the parents need to be there for the children, and the children need to know your parents are there for you. Don't hide things that you think will shame you, because your parents are there to support you. They are your support system. Your teachers are there to support you. They are your support system. Please don't keep things within yourself, because you don't know what the world of social media is. It's not what you think it is. Ask the adults. It's a very, very scary place. You need advice. You need hand holding. You may think you're old, but sometimes, if you have a problem, come to your parents and speak to them. I honestly think that I understand the peer pressure. I honestly do understand the peer pressure, but there's a world outside. And as children, I'm hoping you would have realized this, because, when I started writing the book, Shweta, my whole angst was that these children are not getting up, they're not getting up. They sit with a gadget on the sofa, on the couch, and sare din iPad dekhte hain, or, watching something on Netflix. And now every child that I speak with, what does the child want to do? They want to go out, park, they want to go to the park, they want to play, they're missing their football, they're missing their sports, they're missing hanging with their friends in the park and just walking. So I want to tell these children there's a world outside. You've understood it. You've understood कि online to start ho gaya tha. Much excitement for you all the last year. Okay, we're going to study on gadgets, but where are you today? You all are frustrated with these same gadgets, aren't you? So understand that there's a world outside. When the pandemic finishes, remember that, balance it. I'm not saying don't be completely off it, but balance it. Do the right thing. Understand that there are perils, there's dangers as well. You're too young to handle it yourself. If you think there's something uncomfortable going on, if you think that something is just bothering you, it's a niggle, don't keep it in your mind. Just go say, tell your parents, tell your teacher, somebody will sort it out. If it isn't, good for you. But if it is, it's better to be prepared for all the kind of dangers of social media.
Very well. I think children should come back to parents for advice. That's a very good takeaway from this whole conversation. And you should learn how to face the world, and your parents are there with you. That feeling should always be there. And there's a very beautiful quote in your book, Jyotsna, which I would like to read out to my audience. When parents give their children a smartphone without teaching them about the pitfalls it comes with, it is like giving them keys to a car without teaching them how to drive, says Vanita Opal, director of a prestigious school in Delhi. So this is really well said, I feel.
Yes, it's true. The unfortunate part, I think, is that we as parents have also not understood the dangers of social media. And we've also considered it a toy ourselves. And, we are so busy with it that we haven't, we have discovered Facebook updates, and now we've discovered Instagram. The kids have gone way beyond. They're not on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're on Snapchat. They don't really realize what's going on, but who's going to tell them? The parents. Now, as parents, it is our responsibility to understand that our children are imitating every single thing that we do, whether they acknowledge it or they don't. So, if we're sitting quietly and constantly SMSing somebody or constantly uploading the photo of food on the table before we allow our children to eat that, they are going to do the same thing. They're going to say that, okay, first let me update, then I'm going to sit down for a meal. Or if you're sitting with gadgets on the dining table, then your child is going to sit with the gadget on the dining table. So we have to lead by example. And unfortunately, like I said, first, as parents, as adults, we have to figure out what's going on social media. It's not as simple as we presume it to be. To allow your child unrestricted freedom on YouTube is very unfair to your child, because it's like I've written in the book, it's all, it's an algorithm. They're going to watch something. If your child is 10 years old, there'll be another link on the side. You're going to just get tempted. The child, no one's watching, the child says, chalo ek second, main ek link hi to hai, I'll just click on that link. But what happens if that link, from one link to another, you reach places you don't want your child to be reaching? And that's what my book talks about. It actually gives you examples, details of experiences of people who have reached places that they shouldn't have been reaching, and the kind of pedophilia that is present, the kind of strange men who pretend that they are younger. आपकी गेम्स में जो आप सोचते हो कि आप 11 साल के हो, 12 साल के हो, 13 साल के हो, आपका बच्चा खेल रहा है, 100 लोगों के साथ खेल रहा है, he's just harmlessly playing a game. A lot of cyber experts have told me, ये जो बोलते हैं ना, that these people who say they're 15, they're 16, the same age, they're actually 30, 40, 50-year-old men who are out, who are scouting for people who are not really aware of the dangers. So there's a lot for us parents. And like I said, it's not a parenting book, but I think there's a lot for us parents to do when it comes to social media. To, the more we understand social media and its perils, the better it will be for us to, guide our children going forward. Because social media, gaming, I mean, so many people that I spoke to said, oh, grooming kya hota hai? Grooming to, matlab, it's like to get well dressed and go out. And I'm like, your child has been playing for so long, and yet you don't know that grooming is when a stranger gets onto a game or social media and befriends a child, and उससे बात करने लग जाता है, उसके साथ trust build करता है. And once you build that trust, what do? You take that child out of the game onto WhatsApp. And these communications start happening on WhatsApp. Your child will not realize what's going on. Your child will say, "हाँ, my mom comes, my parents, both my parents are working. वो तो रात को आते हैं 8 बजे, कोई नहीं होता घर में, मैं अकेला हूँ." ये these kind of information is what is you're blackmailed with later, and more, and more is in my book. So I would suggest that all of us equally have to realize that social media has its positives. For sure, it has its positive. The digital world has its positives. I mean, the kind of work I have seen children do, young children do, if they harness it properly, the kind of activism, body shaming, drug awareness, the kind of work that goes on social media at the age of 16, 17, 15, anti-bullying, apps that these children are discovering. It's fascinating. It's wonderful. These children are talented. They are intelligent. We have to just make sure that they're doing the right thing and using it the right way.
Yes, absolutely. Instead of parents, family, or friends, today's generation turns to cyber world when they need support, quick stimulation, deeper validation, socializing, or experimenting. So, do you agree with it? And what's your take on this?
It's very unfortunate, but I think a lot of children, again, like I said, also feel that they have nowhere else to go. They have no one to talk to. Like my personal experience with these children has been कि कोई हमसे बात नहीं कर रहा है, कोई believe नहीं कर रहा है. So where are they going to go? If your child turns around and says, "I am feeling anxious, I am feeling depressed, I have panic attacks," chances are in our society we will say ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, तुम्हारे दिमाग में है, मन में चल रहा है, कुछ नहीं, जाओ थोड़ा टीवी देख लो, बहल जाओ, मन बहला लो, distract yourself, you'll be fine. What if the person is actually going through panic attacks or anxiety? And it is true. I've mentioned a lot of it in my book. How do you deal with it? So if they find that they've got no one to listen to, they will go to social media and pour their heart out. What happens when they pour their heart out? There are people who are ready to make fun of them. And that demoralizes them even further because कोई turn around एक comment बोलेगा, अरे तू तो पगला है, पागल है, because that's how we've treated mental health in our country. Pagal hai, wo to pagal hai. And one child, and children are not the most sensitive people either, right? So if one child who's looking for validation goes on social media and someone just puts in a comment that is a little hurtful, the child is going to get even more frustrated, even more depressed. And what I've read, what I've researched in my book is that a lot of them are resorting to harmful means as a way of coping. They're cutting their wrists, they're cutting their cheeks, they're cutting their legs, they're overdosing. And for the simplest of things. So to me, the key is talk about things in your house as parents, as children. I tell children this: if your parents don't listen to you, go to your teachers. I tell schools this, that teaching has to change. It has to embrace a much more holistic way, especially after the pandemic, where concerns are going to be so different. It's not just about textbooks. And I also tell these children that if your parents are not listening, if you don't get through a teacher, go to a friend's parent. You go to an adult, find an adult, even if it is your friend's parent. You feel like someone's listening to you, you talk, you bring it out. Don't open yourself up to social media because it makes you very, very vulnerable. But that's what they're doing, right? I mean, sad fishing is what it is. You open yourself up and you open your emotions up and you think, chalo, all these celebrities are doing the same. Celebrities have a different ball game going. Celebrities are paid to do all this. Every single tweet of theirs is paid. It's misleading. But you think that because she's upset, I can also say the same. No, you can't open yourself up to strangers because you don't know what kind of advantage they will take of you.
Sad fishing is a very important point, which has been mentioned in the book. And even I feel, it should be taken up among students because yes, they kind of get this thing on emotions. They play on person's emotions, and they feel that to express emotions on social media, they get more likes or they engage in more conversations, so which makes the children a little more vulnerable. 13 and 14 years are bullying their friends and classmates in all possible ways. Cyberbullying is not the kind of bullying we have grown up with. So, what is your thought on that?
Very, very scary. Very, very scary. And to be honest, I'm glad I wasn't in this generation dealing with the kind of pressures that come. Everything is open. Everything is open. Now, before the pandemic, all these children, so many of these children said, oh, we've got so many thousands of followers on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever. Now, when you talk to these children, how many people do you talk to? They say, no, just one or two. We've only got one or two friends. And that also we are talking to when we need some help with school or whatever. They don't. So the problem is that there isn't it's a very, very scary world. And bullying has just changed now with the advent of social media. So you can be anonymous on social media. And if you're upset with someone, you can take revenge on social media. You can also, the point is that why would you want to do this to anybody else? Because the digital world, as I tell my children, it never forgets anything. Once you've put something out, it isn't going out of that sphere. Why, if you're upset with someone, why would you upload indecent pictures of those children and make their life miserable? But there's just, I don't know, I mean, I find that this generation is a very sensitive generation, but it's also a very emotional generation. And unfortunately, social media makes you the kind of people where everything is very instant. You need to fight instantly, you need love instantly, you need rewards instantly, you want to take revenge instantly. Everything is abhi ke abhi. There's no thought process ki what are the repercussions of this in the long term. No one is thinking. And that to me is very, very unfortunate, because I think a lot of these cyberbullying cases, these sexual bullying cases, these girls who are really bullying girls, these kind of cases can be, we can do without, if only these children had sat down and thought. I slept over it, to be honest. That's all it takes, but they don't want to do it. They're saying, oh, she was my friend yesterday, today she's gone off with another friend. I don't like it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make her life miserable. It's as simple as that. And you're uploading, you can be anonymous. आप अपना नाम नहीं दे रहे हो, आप अपनी शक्ल नहीं दे रहे हो, and you can just upload anything you want to and make a child's life miserable. And the other thing with this is that, and I tell everybody that, like I said, social media and digital world doesn't forget, even for you personally. As children, whenever you're uploading something, think twice before you upload anything. Even a status that you're putting up, even an update that you're putting up, even any photos, any display photos that you're putting up, you would think, chalo, you're looking really cool, you're looking really good, or you're wearing these, skimpy clothes, you're wearing these new shoes, whatever, or, you're making these funny actions, or you think you're being very smart. But the point is, at some point, you are going to get over social media and you're going to go out and look for a job in the real world. School khatam hoga, college bhi khatam hoga, naukri chahiye, sabko naukri chahiye. Us time, nobody. Today, the bosses are not looking at your CV. They're looking at your digital footprint. And when they look at your digital footprint, they're going to decide if you're frivolous enough, they don't want you. They don't need to see what else you've done. They don't need to see your CV of you were the school basketball captain or whatever. They're just going to see. I mean, I'll give you the example. There was and I've said this in the book as well. There was a World Cup, a football World Cup, or usme there was this beautiful girl, a Belgian girl. She was in her teens, and I remember watching her. She was always on the cameras, so much so that overnight she got a deal with a multinational cosmetic company. I think it was L'Oreal, one of the bigger ones, a Belgium teenager. And next day you could see her photos. She had got the deal, she'd taken it, she was going to be their big model and everything. उसके बाद क्या हुआ, 2 दिन के बाद एक फेसबुक पे पोस्ट निकली उसी की. Somebody took out and she was standing after having shot an animal, and she was standing with a rifle and saying, all is well in love and war, and basically just being very not nice about animal rights. She lost her contract that very same day. That very same day. So that's what I'm saying कि जो भी करो ना सोच समझ के करो. I'm not saying don't put up photos. I'm not saying don't, be part of this world. Be part of this world, because in this generation, this is the only world. थोड़ा सोच समझ के करो, because रेस लंबी है, आगे भी जाना है, and you don't want to get derailed as children with something that you were immature enough. You'll grow up, you'll be mature, and then you'll say, oh God, I was so stupid. I'm still saying it, to be honest, but the only difference is I didn't put it up on social media, so I can get away with it. So that's my request to parents and children, that speak to each other, define your boundaries, understand कि जो ठीक है वो ठीक है, कुछ ठीक नहीं है उसको छोड़ दो. There's no need to hold these grudges for everyone to view publicly.
It's very true. I think this is one of the very strong impact of social media, and I would request all the children that we should think beyond the moment, right? And that is what the book also talks about very
Absolutely.
strongly.
I mean, everyone will, enjoy. I'm not saying don't enjoy. Enjoy if, I mean, enjoy your time, enjoy your childhood. It doesn't come again. If you ask me, study within limits. You don't have to go crazy. Your parents are not going to like this. If I say don't have to aim for 100%, but do everything. Be an all rounder. But there's so much outside. Go out, go play, pick up a sport. Read. Watch TV, everything within limits. Everything within limits. You want to play a game, you like gaming, please go ahead. But just make sure आपका mic खुला नहीं हो. Just make sure you're not playing with strangers. Just make sure you're not giving out information, through the pop-up chats that come up. So just be aware and go for it. Go for it. That's all I'm saying. Everything has its checks and balances. Everything has its boundaries. But you know what's happening today? Those boundaries are being crossed.
So everything is fair, everything is okay. Just keep a check on what you do and be in your limits. And we have to learn to balance, basically. That's
Absolutely.
important. Why is it that today's generation has lost the ability to lead a simple life? Why is it holiday is only London? Or we see, children sharing pictures of party dresses at home. When they're not allowed to go in a party, they'll click snaps in party dresses and they'll share it. So what is all this? And how should we overcome all these things or should deal with these things?
It's a different generation. Firstly, as parents and adults, we have to accept that it's a different generation. We have to accept कि जो हमारे लिए ठीक था इनके लिए ठीक नहीं है. As I always say that in our generation, if I was told you've got to learn to go for the music class, I went for the music class. Today, if I turn around and tell my child you got to go for a music class, she doesn't want to do it, she's not going to do it. They're very, very clear, and there's no wrong in it. ठीक है. I mean, to me, we have to understand their talent and encourage it. In our times, we were the jack of all trades, right? I mean, these children are very aware of what they want, and there's no harm in it. If you want to do well in something, I think we have to encourage it. But it also comes with again, like I said, that exposure is so different. If you're going to allow them that kind of access to YouTube or Netflix at an age that is not appropriate, then you have to be ready to handle the repercussions. I always say this to parents that why give your child an iPad at the age of 6, 7? Why put a television in their bedrooms? Why do you want to, because I see so many of them now reaching an age where 13, 14, they're struggling with their child who's refusing to give it back, who's refusing to listen to them. So my point is, in cyber world, every few months matters. You have to be smart enough to not. It's very easy for us parents to say, "Hum thak gaye, tum thodi der games khel lo." Just get out of head. Let me have my chai. Let me have my evening tea. But I think we're unfair to them. Children, on the other hand, like I said, have to understand that the world is not about just how you look and how you portray yourself, because there's always photoshopping. So for any little thing you put up, the chances it can go worse. You have to, as children, just understand, is that what you really want? I understand we all want to be smart, I understand we all want to be cool, but I think there has to be a limit. But again, that limit cannot be the same limit that was for us as when we were children. As parents, there has to be a give and take between the child and the parents to move ahead, because today it's the exposure, the kind of stuff that they're watching on Netflix. I mean, what today we can't say ki, oh, we are aping the West. We're not aping the West, we are the West. All the shows are streaming at the same time. Everything is at the same time. It's when she was in class 6, my elder daughter, in class 6, she came back and said, "Oh, Mama, there were 3 boys have been suspended." I said, "Why?" She said, "Because they were vaping in class 6." And I said, "Okay." So she said, okay, done, khatam, conversation over. Why? Because my child already knows about vaping, because I have exposed her to the dangers that are around. So she knows that things happen, but she doesn't have to go into it. She doesn't have to tackle them. She knows that there is certain things that are inappropriate. There's certain things I'm okay with. She doesn't cross the boundaries because I've made things very normal in my house. There's a kind of normalcy to the fact that drugs happen. There's drug abuse. There's drug abuse on the streets. There's drug abuse in schools. It is across the country. She knows that there's drug abuse. So she knows there's vaping. She knows कि ये मुझे नहीं करना है. क्यों? Because it's a very normal conversation in my house. If something happens, I'll say, guess what? This happened. Read about it. You should know. And I say this to children as well. Why is it so important? And I say this to my daughters as well. Why is it so important to get the number of likes? But it is important to them, and we have to accept it. That's all that matters to them, is the number of likes that they get on a photo, that or a status that they put up. What do you do with it? You've got to live with it, but you've got to ease out a little bit so that they don't cross their boundaries. And you have to be there as a parent to talk about it, to have open conversations that this is not okay. Don't give in easily, because this generation also doesn't give in easily. But at the same time, don't live like you're still in 1980s or 1990s, because that's unfair to them. Whether it is their aspirations, whether it is their work, whether it is the way they dress up, whether it is their thinking, everything has changed. Even studies, if they don't want to go into IIT or become a doctor, if they want to, my daughter wants to do history honors, I'm saying by all means, please go ahead. I'm English honors. I never wanted to do anything else. So I'm just saying it's okay to not go into the science stream or the commerce stream. It's okay for your child to follow his or her dreams. Allow them that. But be around them as a parent to understand. So I think there's a lot of learning for us as adults as we go along. Because, yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, I mean, sometimes it's not okay to see them in the kind of clothes that we're seeing them. But if they don't, I mean, you've got to either stamp it down, or you've got to be aware and punish them. We don't punish enough. We don't say no enough. And that's another dilemma that I find with us as parents, कि हम अपने बच्चों को ना नहीं करते आजकल जितना. And our parents always said no to us. We don't say no to our children. They want this because, I don't know, maybe we're all tired, maybe we're all busy, we're so busy, caught up in today's world. If our child says, can I have this, can I have this, can I have this, fifth time when your child says, can I have this, you get so tired, you say, le lo, khatam karo. So we have to be strict. We have to learn to say no. We have to see that we are not giving in too easily to those gadgets very early, because that's the kind of exposure they're getting. The older they are, the more responsible they will be in how they handle social world and cyber world. And I think I've spoken a lot.
Yes, I'll quote another line of yours from the book which I really liked. The smartphone is the genesis. Everything stems from this device. Lack of sleep, bullying, vulnerability. Child having uncontrolled access to it at the age of 11 is like an athlete. This is so beautiful. It's like an athlete starting from the wrong end in a race, especially where the aim is to overshadow someone 24 hours a day.
Yeah, smartphone it is. 848 million market in India.
Yes.
And it's unbelievable how we're almost going to edge out China and be the largest smartphone market in the world. And when we're talking about this, we're talking about tier 2, tier 3 cities, even rural India, online. Unfortunately, there's still gender equity in that, and that's another story. But the fact is that we've given our children that smartphone so early. And a lot of parents I speak to say, oh, but our children go for classes after school. How do we keep, how do we look out where they are, kahan hai, pata kaise karenge, late ho jayenge. Just give them a regular phone. You want to keep in touch? Give them a phone. I'm not saying don't give them a phone. Give them a phone that allows them to ring and speak to you. Why are you giving them a phone that has Safari, that has Chrome, that has YouTube, that has games? Why are you giving them that? Let them on it. Why? What is the need for it? No, then they'll say, no, all the parents, their friends have it. So what? So what? I can deal with the peer pressure. Why can't you? And I've dealt with it. I fought for it like the longest time. I didn't care. She came back one day and said, my teacher asked me how many students in your class have Instagram account, my eldest one. She said, Mama, only four hands didn't go up. Mine was one of them. Agar पूछते who doesn't have TikTok, I would have been the only child. Too bad. That's how you're in my house, these are my rules. And I'm not giving you something that I don't believe in. And I think to me, I'm just saying that why tempt children so early? It's a temptation because you want to give them, children want to be connected, give them the phone. That's okay. Give them a regular phone. I mean, a non smartphone, they can call you, they can tell you where they are. A smartphone has a lot of issues going with it. It has accessibility of the kind that we don't realize. It has exposure of the kind that we don't realize. And again, I mean, if your child is not in front of you and you've got that phone and like I said, they can reach from one link to another. Why give it? There has to be, Shweta, kuch to rehna chahiye that you aspire for. If everything is given to you easily in your hands, my last job where I was working, it was full of young millennials who had no respect for work, who had absolutely zero interest, zero loyalty. And I remember calling this girl up and I said, where are you? It's your shift. And she said, oh, main to aa nahi rahi. I've gone to Ranthambore. I said, but you've got to tell us you're not coming in for a shift, or at least ask for permission. She said, you can sack me or keep me, it's your choice. They don't have full-time jobs. They don't, they go from one house to the other, but they have that smartphone in their hand, the fanciest of phones that their parent has given them. Then what will they aspire for? It wasn't like this for me. And I've told my children, I'm sorry, you aren't getting a car or anything from me. Work it out. I worked for my first car, I worked for my first phone. Today, everything is on a platter for our children because हम उनको नाराज नहीं करना चाहते. But
In that reason, we don't value it.
unfortunately, then what will they aspire for? If they fall, the parents reach school. ओहो आपने हमारे बच्चे को डांट लगाई, क्यों लगाई? If a child is getting bullied by another child, a parent will land up and scold a child. Let the child fight out the battle himself or herself. We are leaving nothing for the children to fall for today. They won't know how to fall, they won't know how to get up. And that to me is a very, very scary thing for this generation. Everything is too easy. And I know a lot of children are listening to me and they may not agree with what I'm saying. But, we all have to work hard for things that we aspire for, because we have to always aspire for things. Na? Agar ab kuch sab kuch mil gaya, then, like I say, even for CBSE, if you're giving a child 100% right now, what is the child going to aspire for in college? All these professionals and teachers that I speak to and counselors, school counselors, say when they go to college, there is so much disappointment because their marks are suddenly so low. After the 100%, you're getting a 70 or an 80%, and that's all you're going to get in college. They don't know how to tackle it. So yes, my take.
I'm continuing something very beautiful from the book, which I want to read and share with my children here. Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, what are their kids without technology? Just listen to me very carefully today. That's a red flag if there was any. In the age of consumerism, they sold us fancy devices, but shielded their own children from the same. It answers everything, I think.
Yes.
Don't you?
It's self-explanatory. I believe in it.
So I think we should have some questions from students. So before that, my last question for you is the impact of pandemic on our youth. When they are all stuck at home, impact of homeschooling, online classes, physical isolation, and no friends to play. So what would you like to say with this?
I have immense sympathy for the children. Immense. Uh, I saw them. I saw them last year. They had, they said, chalo, chalo. We've got the iPads. The parents said, okay, we've got to sort out our own lives. What are we going to do in a lockdown? Okay, kids are sorted. Let's give them the gadgets. वो पढ़ाई कर लेंगे अपनी. Let us figure out our lives. How are we going to exercise? How are we going to go out, do our grocery shopping? How are we going to work from home? And we forgot about our children, to be honest. The last year it's been miserable for these children. I've seen my daughter sit by a window, and that year has gone by on that window, on her table. My younger one, sits, and it's online learning is so rough on these children, because, and I understand teachers, for teachers also it's very very hard, because that they are adjusting as well. It's been a big mess for our children, and I hope that as children we learn that there is a lot to be said for physical, physically meeting people, the physical presence that a lot of these children had forgotten about before the pandemic, because they were so hooked onto their gadgets. There's that, and this social isolation is something that really really scares me, and for these children. And I hope that once things are better, once these children are vaccinated, that they will go out and understand that there's so much more to the world outside than sitting and just sending everybody messages. And my sense is that these children have really really missed that way of life, that they want to get off their gadgets, they want to go to school, they want to meet their friends, they want to chat with friends, they want to sit on a table outside of the work table at home, they want to go for a walk on the park, they want to go and play. And I hope that these children, I hope your children actually remember this in the long term, because nothing is worth that kind of joy. It's nature, it's a world outside. And I think a lot of us sometimes just need, I mean, I struggle, I struggle myself, and I say I'm just going down for a walk, come what may, because I need, and it's really hot, it's almost like sometimes it's 45 plus, but I say I need to get out. So I can, so imagine these children who are constantly studying. It's been a very very hard and unfortunate lesson for them. I hope to God that we all get vaccinated, our children get vaccinated soon. Please don't be hesitant about your vaccine. It's the only way to come out of this, and get out of this. And hopefully next year this time we're all good, and we're out. All the children are back in school, and the bells are ringing in the school, and the teachers are teaching them, and something on the blackboard, because it's been unfortunate on children who've just given their class 12. It's been unfortunate on children who've been in the first year of college, who lost out. So think of brighter things, but think of the fact that a phone or an iPad is not everything.
So let's take up some questions now.
Sure.
There is a question from a student of class 10. My board exams can be next year. So how can I balance this pressure? And my parents want me to get 100% in boards. So what to do?
My God. I'm gonna ask your parents to speak with me. I'm the first person. I've actually told my children that I don't want 100%. So in my house, the rule, including my husband, he said, we need you to try your best. As long as we know that you have tried your best, it is good enough for us. We don't care for our results. And to be honest, my elder one, who's she loves, she's very into her studies as well. She gets very frustrated. She said, "What kind of parents are you? That I am saying that I've only got like a 90 or an 85, and you're saying koi baat nahi acha hai." She said, my friends' parents would have made me go and study right now. So, what do you do with parents? It's an Indian mentality that we have to get 100% and we have to score. But also, I've met, perhaps, you speak to your parents again, because a lot of parents that I spoke with recently on my show, who told me that they had the same outlook, when the pandemic started last year. But now this year, their only thought is, let us all be healthy. So, I mean, maybe you ask your parents what matters. You've got to stay healthy as a family, as a child, and, as a unit, and studies will fall into place. But give them my book. And I just present them my book. It's on Amazon, and honestly, I think they will get the answers. But my take is, for all parents out there putting pressure, step back a little bit. It's been very very hard on children. We just want everyone to come out healthy at the end of this tunnel, really. I don't think anything else should matter.
Fancy Ananya wants to ask a question. Can we unmute Ananya Mehra?
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, Ananya.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask, in the past few months, due to the lockdown, we've been working from home and studying from home. At first, it was really fun. There was a new mode of education. But now it has become so monotonous, and every time you're looking at the same screen, the walls are same, nothing has changed. So it becomes a little monotonous, and by evening, it becomes very depressing because there is nothing to do, and the children are also getting so bored and they are depressed after a point because there is nothing to do. So ma'am, what can you suggest for them to do and to keep their mental health and physical health in place?
Oh gosh, very, very tough, very, very tough. I take it one day at a time, Ananya, frankly, with my daughters as well. Because, it's like, अब हम क्या करें? They come to me and they say, okay, we finished our studies. Okay, we finished reading our books. How much more, how many storybooks can we read in a day? Which is also true. So I don't know. I mean, we've tried to stay as interactive as possible in my house. I mean, if I were to pan this thing, I'd show you that my living room has got everything from it's got a gymnastics balance beam, badminton that goes on here, there are rackets all over, there's football that my girls play inside. So I've opened up my house to whatever works. But I would actually suggest that if it's possible for you and your family to take a walk every day in the evening, I think that are you near a park or something where you can step
Yes,
out?
ma'am.
You should. I think going out every day for a little bit of air, fresh, polluted Jessivia, just to step out of the four walls is very, very important right now for our sanity. And I say this personally because I think it works for me. I actually go for a run. My daughter goes for a run, the elder one. And, so if you go, at least you'll burn that energy. The rest of the time, I understand it's the same thing, but everybody has to improvise. Think of ways that, like I said, if you are on social media, think of ways that you can make a difference. There's so many kids who've come out, with these apps that they've been working on, or the fact campaigns against bullying, or any issue that's particular to you. Come up with these issues, get people to work with you, get your friends to work, take out something that you think will benefit other students around you, even if it's mental health. Talk about stories, bring, just form a collective going forward that keeps this busy as well, because I understand how monotonous studies can be. I totally understand, how it is, you just go from one room to another and that routine doesn't happen. But also, why don't you exercise at home? There are all these kind of people apps where kids can join in, and just join in these apps and do like a half an hour, 1 hour exercise every day. Do it.
Take up
It's
some hobby like painting or dancing.
Yeah, and whatever, lots of people. I have to say that even for myself, like what I did 1 year ago with my trainers online, my yoga teachers online, even I'm fed up. So I don't do, I've also stopped them. I do everything on my own now, but which is why I understand that it gets very, if after a year, kitna ho sab kuch kar do. So you have to keep changing, and you have to keep improvising. Whatever works, board games, carom board, puzzles, कुछ भी जो सही लगे. Get into the kitchen. I mean, if you feel like cooking, my children, unfortunately, I told them get into the kitchen, and the only thing they cook is a cake and French fries. So it's a disaster in my house because यही बनाते हैं, और मैं कहती कितना केक बन खाएंगे मीठा. But whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you happy. But I think exercise is very, very important for releasing that energy. Very important.
I hope you've been answered, Ananya. So next we take up is Yash. Yash Chaudhary. Mansi, can we have Yash?
Yeah, I've asked him to unmute. It was his question only, basically, the one which you asked previously. So,
We've taken up his question, right?
yes.
And Garvit wants to ask. Garvit, are you there? Garvit Sharma?
Sorry?
Garvit Sharma. Okay, I think he's searching on there. So let's take up the question from here. Then another question is there. Hello, I am a student of class 9. My parents says that you have to become a doctor or engineer. Why so? I think this question has also been answered.
I've already answered this. Get them the book. And again, like I repeated this a little bit earlier, if you have somebody, some other adult who can speak with your parents, ask for intervention. It's important. If there's somebody who you feel your parents will listen to, you speak to that person before. Maybe your parents, brothers, sisters, somebody, some relative, some friends, and explain to them what you want to do. Or even if you don't feel like there's something concrete in your mind, it's okay, you're still in school. But get somebody who's an adult to speak with your parents. I think that may work better.
Okay, then there's another question. What is the right age for smartphone or social media?
Smartphone, there is no right age. But okay, so I know that Instagram is 13. I'd honestly say, why still do you want to be on Instagram at 13? Kya rakha hai? Kuch nahi hai. But okay, not before 13, although everybody's not at it from the age of 10, 11. Um, Honestly, phones, smartphones, I'd say 15, if you can handle it. Not before 15. Take a phone before that if you want. Like I said, there's no harm. 14, 15, grow up to understand that, you don't want to be in a position where you don't know you're addicted to your gaming or to your social media. Because again, in the book, if you get the book, you'll see that a lot of kids that I've spoken with were 13, 14, and they were addicted, to their phones, to their devices. So why do you want to be in a position where you will get tempted? Because you will get tempted. And my point is, the longer you can push it, be smart about it yourself. The longer you can push it, the better it is going to be for you. I have a friend whose son has just got a smartphone at the age of 16. And there was a lot of resentment earlier, and he fought, and then he gave up and he started learning the guitar himself. And today he didn't even expect the phone. And I said, okay, now he's 16, I think you should give him. About time. But she said he doesn't even want it because he's so content doing other things. So my point is, we waste, and including me, we waste so much time scrolling on social media or, on our phones, that there's just so much other stuff that we can learn outside that you only realize when you have free time. And social media does not give us free time.
This is something very nice, and I think this has to be the last question. This might be out of context, but I wanted to ask if it is necessary to have a goal in life.
To have a
To have a goal, G O
goal.
A L, goal in life. I am a very pessimistic person and prefer to go with the flow.
How old are you? Can I get that?
They're all students of class 9, 10.
Class 9 and 10. Again, I feel like goals put pressure on you. Uh, at a young age. So okay, so I mean, I've got nephews who are, early 20s, and one of them is just like, "Oh, I still don't know what I want to do, Pooh." And I'm like, that's okay. I unfortunately had a goal for the simple reason that I'm a fourth generation. I mean, everybody in my family has been journalists. I really didn't know what else to do, honestly. So मैंने कहा यही कर लो. But I find that putting pressure on yourself, and I say this to my children, my elder one especially, I say, why are you putting so much pressure on yourself? I want to do this when I want to grow up. I said, go along, go, it's okay to go with the flow. You don't have to accomplish so much at a young age. It will come. But why force it? Why want to be ahead on a rat race? Rat race to hoegi. So if you're a pessimistic kind of person, I'd say instead of finding goals, read some happy things, watch some happy things, write some happy things. Again, I cannot tell you how much emphasis I give on outdoor activities, on a sport. In my house, sports is compulsory. It has always been compulsory. I've played a sport at the state level. My husband has played a sport at a state level. My daughter is trained, and my younger one does not like it, but she doesn't have a choice. I have told her, choose a sport. I will not force you into the sport I like, but you have to choose. So it allows you to be disciplined. It allows you to think beyond घर में बैठे बैठे सोचने कि बजाय कोई sport नहीं है, जाओ थोड़ा सा भाग लो बाहर, go for a run, go for a jog. But it's very, very important to be connected to the outdoors. Instead of finding that goal, forcing yourself on a goal, that goal will come to you. But expose yourself to different readings, expose yourself to different things. Don't have to think for a goal right now. Honestly, if it's not come to you, why force yourself? Just stay happy with whatever makes you happy. But if you think a goal will make you happy, message me and we'll talk further. I'm serious.
I think let's not make the goal larger than you,
Correct.
right?
Correct. It'll come.
It will come, yes. One day it will come. The lightning will be there.
Yes,
Let's try.
absolutely.
Hello, ma'am. I am in class 9. I always try to keep my smartphone away from me, but I fail. What should I do?
You have to fix times. You have to. I hope you don't keep it with you in your room at night. Like in my house, there's a rule, like, at night, My kids are allowed Kindle because they read a lot. So they have the white paper Kindle, which is good for their eyes. So at night, I go in every room, I pick up all the gadgets and I put them outside. Every morning, my husband will be like, "Why have you chucked everything out?" But that's the only way. You have to have fixed times. You have to say, "This is my cutoff. I cannot look at a gadget. I cannot look at my phone after this point." Jitne marzi, put it on silent, because the moment it's not on silent, you will keep hearing the messages and you will get tempted. Okay, let me see the last message. You have to have cutoffs. You have to have time out from your phone. That's the only way. You have to say there's a world outside that phone and I'm not missing. That fear of missing is so huge but you're not really missing anything. That, when you go back to that phone in 2 hours, it'll still be there. So take time out, give yourself a break, do something else in that time, sleep for all I care. It's okay. Just take time out, because that pressure, again, you get my book, you'll see a lot of people, a lot of children have said the same thing of this relationship that they have with their phones, that they feel that they're addicted, although they don't want to be. And you have to be self-disciplined. You really have to be. It has to come from within.
The day it comes from within, the comes.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Jyotsna, for such an enlightening session. And I hope our children, the parents, the teachers have really have a takeaway from it. A lot of children are now again coming up with questions, but I'm really, really sorry the time is not given to us.
No.
So my last line for the sessions are: during the lockdown, nature grabbed some of its lost beauty back and showed us how truly magnificent our habitat could be if we just slow down. What then is stopping us? So with this, it's time.
I honestly think we should, remember this even more now in the pandemic, that, there's a world outside. But before I let you go, I just want to bring up the cover of the book. Ulta dikh raha hai, I think. But this is the book. Yeah.
And these are the last lines of the book.
These are the last lines of the book.
And
And it's available on Amazon, Flipkart, bookstores. So get a copy. If otherwise, present it to your parents. Honestly, I think knowledge is power, as I say.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me today, Shweta. Thank you for this conversation.
Pleasure. Over to you.
Thank you, Jyotsna, for talking about the dangers of social media and also bringing parenting tips and helping them understand the perils of social media. On behalf of the foundation, I would like to thank you and Ms. Jyotsna Mohan and Ms. Shweta Aggarwal for this insightful session. I would like to thank our presenter, Shri Cement Limited, and our associate, Humane Foundation. I would also like to thank our young listeners. Without their enthusiasm, this session would not have been successful. In these trying times, we want everyone to stay safe and stay well. Thank you. Have a pleasant evening. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.